Hi everyone, I'm Sandy, and today I'm back with my 1001 book countdown. And it's been a couple weeks, so let's get to it. All right, so as always, if you're not familiar with the 1001 book countdown, I will leave a card up here for you so you can go and check out the original video. But basically, it's book reviews off of the 1001 books you must read before you die list. And I'm having a blast getting to go through everything. It has brought so many new authors and new books to me, and I am loving it and loving my journey on BookTube. So hopefully you're enjoying my journey as well, and would consider subscribing to my channel to see how far I get, especially with my 2021 number this year. But for today, what we'll do is we will go ahead and let me get my notes in front of me so I'm not stumbling. We'll go ahead and put up the numbers for today, which are 957 and 7, which is my 2021 number. And we're just going to go ahead and get into the books today. I do have a good update. I didn't have an update last week because I didn't finish a book last week off of the 1001 books list. So, yeah, it makes it a little troubling considering I only have, 5 weeks left before the end of the year and 7 books right now on the 2021 list. But I will fix part of that today. So, all right. So for the first book, it is The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. So this book was published in 2000 and is about the middle of her work, her novels anyway. It did win the Booker Prize in 2000, and it started off being an absolute 4-star read for me. If you're going to read this book, know you have to get past the first couple of chapters because the first couple of chapters are very strange and take some time. This book is also very heavy, so we'll see how long I hold it up. It takes some time to really get into the story, and it's a little bit confusing in the first couple of chapters because there's a whole bunch of letters that are referred to, and there's a whole nother story that's referred to. Once you hit Iris's story, who's the main protagonist in this, it turns really, really good. I did this as a buddy read with my friend Sonia, and it was a great book to do as a buddy read because you're trying to figure out what's really going on. You know some things right at the start. Even on the back of it, it says 10 days after the war ended, my sister Laura drove a car off a bridge. The bridge was being repaired. She went right through the danger sign. She had her reasons. So you know that even from reading the back of the book, that you're trying to figure out what happened to her sister and why did her sister drive off of the bridge. But it is told from Iris's perspective, and Iris is an older woman in this book who is reflecting back and is kind of almost writing a memoir or writing notes to commemorate or talk about what really happened during that time. And so you get brought along in the story as Iris is kind of remembering it for the purposes of documenting this. And Iris is my favorite character as the older version of Iris. She is absolutely snarky, absolutely funny, how she remembers things in this book. I really liked her character as an older woman. The younger Iris, not so much, but not because she's poorly written, but only because I just did not like the choices the character was making. And so I don't want to talk about too much about the choices because there is kind of a twist in this, and I don't want to ruin that part for anyone. There's some other very despicable characters in this, and Atwood does a really good job of making them unlikable in this. But the whole time you're reading this, you're trying to figure out, okay, what actually happened? Was it Iris? Was it Laura? What's going on in this? And you do get all of that resolved at the end. It did end up not quite being the 4-star book that I had hoped it would be because about the time we got towards the end, both Sonia and I had figured out what the twist was. Now, while we were trying to figure out what the twist was, it was so much fun because we were bouncing back and forth and going, could it be this? Are we right? Are we not right? And then it turned out we were right about almost everything that we had guessed. And so it was great. It was a great read. I'm really glad I read it with Sonia. Like I said, if you're going to read this, get past the first 2 chapters because it gets so much better after that. And if you don't figure out the twist, I think the twist at the end is really interesting. So, but it ended up being closer to a 3.5 star read for me. But I am so glad that I read it because it is a chunky book. But also look at this beautiful copy I have of The Blind Assassin, which is the 70th birthday edition of this. And you can see over on my shelf over here 3 more that I have now accumulated. So I'm trying to get the whole set. I can't find a couple of them. But anyway, that's a totally different topic. The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. And that book, that actually, if we update our numbers, takes us from 957 to 956 and it is on my 2021 list. So that number goes from 7 to 6, which is very, very good news. Needed to have an update to that number to have any hope of making my 2021 number. So the next book that I do have for you today is one that I had actually planned to read in December, and it is a buddy read that I did with Kieran over at Katie Books. We were going to do it in December and it got moved into November, which is fine. That's why I like having a little bit of a lighter schedule in November because I could move some things around. And the book is actually called, Forest of the Hanged. And if you can see that name, Liviu, Rebreanu, I did look that up, and that's about as close as I'm going to be able to get. This is a Romanian author, and the book was written in 1964. He doesn't have a large body of work, so there's not a ton. This is the first book that I have read by this author. I'd never heard of this author before, and so it was really interesting. This is a very ominous looking cover to this, and I have to say, unfortunately, it was a bit of a disappointment. So the beginning of the book was brilliant. It started off in the Forest of the Hanged, and the way that it was set up with people digging graves and kind of a trial right at the beginning of it, I had high hopes for this. And then it went just off on a whole bunch of tangents that made it just very difficult. There was a lot of, it's described as a psychological book, and I don't know that I got all of the psychological aspects of it. I did, as you go through, you kind of, the main character's name, who's, I believe, Apostle is how you say his name. He is agonizing over what happened at the beginning of the book, and he kind of, at the end, it circles all the way back around to what happened at the beginning of the book. And so, but there's a lot of like weird stuff in the middle that I just did not understand. Kieran had said that there was some kind of similarities to Crime and Punishment, which I have not read, so I'm waiting for his last update. Because I have let him know I have finished it, but we haven't done our final check-in. And to see if it turned out like Crime and Punishment did, I actually don't know. But Forest of the Hanged, it was just okay. It wasn't my favorite. Lots of interesting aspects to it, but I was bored and confused through much of it. But with that, we do get to go from 956 to 955. But it's not on my 2021 list, so that number stays at 6. I apologize for continuing to look down because all my notes are down here. But I have one more. One more book, which is amazing. So this book is Gabriel's Gift by Hanif Kurieshi. And so this book was written in 2000 and were published in 2001, and Kurieshi is a British author. Kurieshi has a wide body of work covering everything from novels to plays to short stories, and so this is kind of around in the middle of his work. It's also not his most famous work. There's another book on the list, Intimacy by Kurieshi, which I'm very interested to read now, but I love, first of all, the cover of this book and the outline of the guitar on it. The guitar is kind of important as you go through the story, but isn't the main concept. Gabriel is a 15-year-old high school student whose parents are not having the easiest of times, and he ends up going through just a wide variety of different scenarios, either trying to deal with his parents, trying to get them together, trying to help his father, who's really struggling, and Gabriel is the best part of this book. You're not sure about if Gabriel's gift is an actual physical gift, or if it is something a little bit more almost supernatural as you kind of go through the story, because there is a little bit of that in it. I thought at the beginning of this it was going to end up being more supernaturally, and towards the end it just ended up kind of deviating away from that. But I liked Gabriel. Gabriel is a very interesting young man in this, with aspirations of being a filmmaker. He does not want to be a lawyer like his mother wants him to be, and tries to do everything he can to just kind of help himself along with that. So there is a whole story about a gift that Gabriel is given, as well as potentially a physical kind of gift that Gabriel has. And it is interesting. It was a book that I was entertained by. It's also extremely short. It's only 200 pages. So it was a great one to have for this week, because I was able to finish it all this week. Blind Assassin, I actually started like 2.5 weeks ago. So that's why I didn't have an update last week, because I didn't actually finish anything. So, but this one is one I'm excited to read Intimacy now, because I've heard Intimacy is better than this one. I can't wait to read another work by Kurieshi. But this one was, again, one that was just ended up being kind of okay. Wasn't my favorite, wasn't bad, just wasn't my favorite. Was better than Forest of the Hanged, but less liked than Blind Assassin for this week. But yeah, that one, not too bad as far as a book goes. And it did introduce me to a new author, and I'm excited to read more of Kurieshi's work. But with that, we get to go from 955 to 954. Yay. And it is on the 2021 list. So we are going from 6 to 5. So I have 5 books with 5 weeks left. Oh man, it's going to be a little close. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about it, but mainly because I'll do my December TBR coming up next week, and you'll see why I'm worried. But as far as books that I have actually started off of the 2021 list, I do have Sabbath Theater by Philip Roth, and you can see from the bookmark here, this first one, that I am well over halfway through this. I'm doing this as a buddy read with Courtney Farrader, and this book is twisted and weird, is what I would say. The one thing I will say is that Roth is doing an exceptional job of making Sabbath very, very unlikable. It is fairly brilliant from that perspective. The content, yeah, it's challenging is what I'll say, but I'll have hopefully this one updated and ready for you for the next countdown, which I don't know if it'll be next weekend. I'm trying to make sure I have more than one book to talk about at the countdown. So if this is the only one, it may wait a couple of weeks, but Sabbath Theater. The other book that I have I started it as an audiobook, thinking I would be able to kind of switch back and forth between the ebook and the audiobook, which was The Golden Ass by Apulus. I'm not sure how you say the name. I'll put the book cover up here. And the audiobook, while very, very entertaining, is a little too modern, is what I would say. Because it says stuff like, "What's up, Socrates?" Like, really, that's not really the language I would expect from a book that old. So I have it as an ebook. I'm going to flip over to that and go back to the audiobook if I have trouble absorbing what the story was about, but I really want to read that one. But it is a very, very old book. So I'm a little concerned about how it's written, but we'll see. But those are the 2 that I have kind of coming up. And then, like I said, next week I'll talk about my December TBR. And yeah, we'll see if I make it. Oh, I mean, yeah, there's one book in particular I am worried about, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday and are healthy and well. And as always, until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.